Hey everyone, welcome back to the SigNoz channel. I'm Akshay and today we are talking about OpenTelemetry. If you have been anywhere near the observability space lately, you have probably heard this term thrown around a lot. And also for a good reason. Because it's the technology that is powering most of the modern observability platforms, even including SigNoz. And here's what we are going to cover today. The what, why, and how of OTel. Starting off with what OpenTelemetry actually is, why everyone is adopting it, and how instrumentation works inside the real applications, and how all of this connects to an observability platform so that you can actually monitor and debug your system effectively. We'll also walk through a real world demo with an e-commerce setup, so we're not just keeping things theoretical. We're diving into the practical side of it as well. So whether if you're a software engineer, someone who's exploring cloud native systems, or a startup founder, you might definitely know that building a solid observability stack has to be rule number one in your playbook. And here's the thing, building an application has to be only half of the story. The real challenge begins once it's actually live. As more users hit your platforms and eventually things get to slow down or break. Latency spikes, failed requests, and services that can also struggle under load. The tricky part is also figuring out where it's actually coming from. Because in a distributed system, a single request can pass through multiple services. And debugging that without visibility is like trying to find a leak inside a complete home. And that's the problem OpenTelemetry solves. At its core, if you go by definition, OpenTelemetry is an open source authority framework that helps your applications generate data, traces, and metrics in a standardized way. Think of it as your application and you're giving it a voice, and it's a simply giving a way to tell what is happening inside. And the biggest reason it also took off is because of the one word that is flexibility. And nobody wants to instrument their application with a single vendor. OpenTelemetry lets you instrument once and send the data wherever you need without any lock-in or any other kind of migration headaches. And if you like what a new tool offers, you can start experimenting with it. Some new features, and you can go ahead and start off with that vendor. That's why it's becoming one of the fastest growing projects under CNCF as well. And that's what we are going to unpack today. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Before we get into what OpenTelemetry is, let's do what good engineers do. Let's start off with the problem. Observability already existed before OTel. Teams had their logs, metrics, and traces. The signals existed and also the tools did exist. The problem and also the trouble was how they did fit together. Or rather, they just didn't. So let's just go ahead and walk into the three things that were broken and how OpenTelemetry fixed each one. Starting off first with the fragmented signals. Before OpenTelemetry, observability was completely scattered. Logs lived in one place, metrics in another, and traces somewhere else. Multiple tools and multiple libraries, and none of them were actually speaking in the same language, which has to be rule number 101 in the OpenTelemetry because that's how you dig into an issue. Think of it like cables. One cable for one signal, another for another, and yet another for something else entirely. And here's what it actually made painful. The signals couldn't actually talk to each other. And if you picture this, you're looking at your metrics dashboard, and if you simply see a spike, error rate going up, you want to dig in. You want the logs from that exact window, right? And the traces to find which specific request caused it. But you can't connect to them. The metric is here, the logs are somewhere else, and traces would be in a complete different thread. And you are just simply guessing across dashboard. Fragmentation didn't just make things messy, it also made correlation impossible. OpenTelemetry fixes this with unified telemetry. One framework generating logs, metrics, and traces all together. And every signal carries the same trace context, the same trace and span IDs flowing through your entire system. So when you see that spike, you can drill straight down through the metric into the related logs and then into the exact trace that caused it. And now you have an answer. If you use SigNoz, this is exactly what that looks like. You start at the metrics overview, something looks off, and you just drill down through each layer without jumping between the multiple tools. Now, second is vendor lock-in. As I've already told, each vendor had its own SDKs, its own agent, its own data format. The moment you instrumented your application for one vendor, you're basically stuck with them. And if you remember those cables, each one came with its own proprietary connector. And sure, it works great inside that ecosystem. But the moment you want to switch for a better pricing, a new tool, or something you want to try something new, you have to rewrite your instrumentation across every single service. Yeah, that's weeks of work and no team wants that. So you stay not because the vendor is the best fit, but because leaving is also too expensive. OpenTelemetry fixes this with vendor neutrality. Instrument once, ship anywhere. And third is your per language chaos. Yup, chaos. Because even inside one company, your stack is really one language. You have Go for the backend, TypeScript for frontend, and Python for ML, and probably a Java service somewhere that's been sitting there since before anyone on the current team joined, and nobody really wants to touch it. And before OTel, each of these needed its own instrumentation library, its own convention, sometimes its own agent. You weren't managing one observability setup, and you were managing four. And they didn't actually talk to each other either, which brings you right back to the first problem. OpenTelemetry fixes this with a cross-platform support. Same specs, same semantic conventions, and the same collector across every language and runtime. So a trace that starts in your TypeScript frontend can flow through a Go API and then into the Python ML service with full context intact and the entire way through. So when you ask why OpenTelemetry became standard, it didn't invent observability. It took three things that were quietly draining the engineering time, fragmented signals, vendor lock-in and per language chaos, and gave one single clean answer. And now that why it exists. Let's get into how it actually works. So if you want to know how it all works, we definitely have to go back and look into the architecture. So if you look into this diagram, you will notice three main pieces: the application, the API, and the providers. You will start with the application because that's the part you already know: your service, your backend, and your business logic. Everything running your product. And once that application is live, the next question is how does it actually start generating observability data? And that's where instrumentation comes in. Instrumentation is the bridge between your running application and the observability world. It's what get your app talking and also emitting traces, metrics, and log. And OpenTelemetry gives you three ways to do it. The quickest is auto instrumentation. You attach an agent and it automatically start capturing telemetry from HTTP request, database calls, and the framework operations. So without you writing any code at all. And then you have the instrumentation libraries that are pre-built for popular frameworks like Express, Django, Spring Boot. And if your stack uses them, you're mostly covered out of the box. And finally, you have the manual instrumentation, which is the most complex, where you have to write the observability logic yourself for things like a custom checkout flow or a business specific logic that no library would naturally understand. So, instrumentation is what gets your app talking. But once you have the telemetry starts flowing, where does it actually go? And that's where the API and the provider layers comes in. Your application doesn't touch the internal implementation directly. It talks to these OpenTelemetry APIs. And underneath those APIs, the providers handle everything: processing, batching, sampling, and exporting the data out of your application. So, the tracer provider handles traces, the metrics provider handles metrics, and logging provider handles the logs. This separation exists for a reason. Your application stays decoupled from the implementation details, and your code just emits telemetry through the stable APIs, and the SDK layer handles the rest behind the scenes. And that's what keeps the architecture portable and also vendor neutral. And setting above all of this, you have the specification. It defines how OpenTelemetry should look different languages and different ecosystem, which have the same rules, different implementations across Go, Java, Python, and your whole stack. And that's what make OpenTelemetry interoperable across the board. And now, while we are here, we have to also discuss the difference between the API and the SDK because it will help you in the future use cases. Simple way to think about it: the API defines what needs to happen, the SDK defines how it actually gets done. The API is the interface your application talks to. The SDK is the engine underneath, and it handles collecting, processing, and batching, and exporting your telemetry via the exporters like OTLP. So, in one line, the API tells OpenTelemetry what telemetry to be generated, and the SDK decides how to process and simply ship it. So, I think you would have a better intelligence of how you can go ahead and separate these two terms around because people usually do confuse them together. So, we just answered how everything worked: the application, instrumentation, and even the difference of the API and the SDK. At the end of all of that, the SDK exports a telemetry out of your application. But where does it actually go next? That's where the collector comes in, the last piece that makes the whole thing complete. It sits right between your instrumented services and your observability backend. Your app hands off the telemetry to the collector, and the collector takes it from there, processing, filtering, routing without any of our application caring about it. And now, if we look at this diagram, it shows the whole flow cleanly. It moves from left to right. So, if you just see from the left, you have the receivers. This is how your data enters the collector. And notice you have got three: the OTLP, Jaeger, and the Prometheus. So the collector is completely flexible about where the data comes from. Your application sending OTLP, that's completely fine. And got a legacy setup spanning Jaeger format, that also works. So the collector receives it all. And then it moves to the processors. And this is where most of the real work also happens, depending on your use case. You have got four things happening over here: the data scrubbing, and if you have any sensitive information setting in your spans, it takes care and structures it out. Then you have the data normalization, making sure everything is in a consistent and a clean format. Then you have the batching. So instead of sending every single span one by one, you can also group them together and send them efficiently. And this is what it does. Then you have lastly the sampling. So at high traffic, when you have multiple users, you are not storing every single trace. You keep the ones that matter and simply can drop the rest. And then finally on the right, you have your exporters. The Jaeger, OTLP, and your process data goes out to whatever backend you are targeting. And what's great here is that you can have multiple exporters running at the same time. So the same data can also go to multiple different backends simultaneously if that's what you need. So if you also look at the bottom here, you can see that is also pointing out to the collector pipeline. So the data in, you are shaping it and simply sending it out. And that's the whole model. Simple to understand, but it can be incredibly powerful to practice. And that's what we're going to be experimenting in our application demo that's going to be joining in our next section. And once you start setting it up for yourself, you will also start recognizing it in places you have already probably seen. And now you know that what exactly it's doing there. So let's just go ahead and dive into our demo. And now you know that what exactly it's doing there. So let's just go ahead and dive into our demo so that you can also relate all these things together. Okay, so now's the time to dive into the practical implementation of things because as of now we have covered onto a side of theoretical. We have dived into the side of how the architecture looks like, but now we will connect everything together via a real world demo application. So I will just go ahead and clone our demo-lite project. This one has been created by SigNoz to simulate the experience of having the various set of services under a real e-commerce application. And as you can see, if I will just go open it, you can see that we have multiple services of Go, JavaScript, and Python, each having their own set of use cases. For example, Go is taking care of checkout, then you have the JavaScript that's taking care of front end, and Python for the recommendation system. And then you have the Docker Compose file and the Docker file. But what I will also give your attention into is the OTel Collector. So if you might have followed, we just recently had a conversation around the collector. These are the same things defined here: the receivers, the processors, and then lastly we have the exporters. Then if you will see, you have the receivers that are defined in OSTLP that are also having the gRPC and the HTTP, and the gRPC is listening on port 4317, HTTP on 4318. Then you have the Redis receiver, and then you have some processors that are taking care of batching and also your resource detection. And not only that, these exporters are simply exporting all of this data out by using a SigNoz ingestion key, the one thing that we have to still fill in. And then you have the various services defined and everything connected by pipeline, each having their own set of services. So metrics has their own set of pipeline, logs has theirs own. And our next step will be to dive into the project and also create our new env file. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and create our new env file, and as you can see it's been created. And now I will simply go to our SigNoz and get our ingestion key. You can find it over here. If you go to your account settings, and under your account setting you have ingestion, and you can simply go ahead and copy your ingestion key from here. So copy your ingestion key from here and you can simply paste it. Once you have saved the file, your next step is simply going ahead and running it up. So I will just go ahead and run our docker compose up command. So I will just paste this command. As you can see, all our containers are up and running, and you can see that the Redis is simply working for our database memory. The OTel collector is collecting all our metrics, the thing that we already talked about, and the OTel mock is simply simulating our traffic. So next step is checking the things on the side of the dashboard and how they're visually implemented over there. So I will head over to the services tab. As you can see, every single one of our microservices is already showing up in our SigNoz dashboard. And if we click into our checkout service, we can see that the metrics layer completely in action. We have the live granular charts that are showing the latency, error rates, and the throughput, all existing in these pre-built panels. And if metrics are only telling us that what is happening, we also need to understand why through our traces. So if we'll go to the traces tab and click onto our checkout, HTTP post trace, we get this complete waterfall view that is representing one complete user action. And if we'll walk down this waterfall to see how the complete microservices interact, we can also see that it all starts with a browser with the page session activity that is existing with the browser frontend. And once we scroll down the pass catalog and the cart checks, we hit the go checkout service that is inside the place order block. And under the place order, the checkout service coordinates everything. And next, if we hit the charge card, you can see that it triggers a post request to our payment service, and you can even see that how it is highlighting all of the use cases of the JavaScript based service that is running that complete credit card charge.
And below that, we have the shipping. That is, the checkout service coordinates the shipment by calling the ship operation, and which then simply calls the quote endpoint, the one that is highlighted over here by our Python quote Python service. So, and if you look at the very bottom, it also publishes everything in an order message to Kafka, where both of our accounting and the fraud detection service consume it asynchronously. So the entire language path is spanning through the browser, Go, JavaScript, and Python, and everything is linked end to end through a same trace ID. And if we look and dive into further step, we will check our logs. And if you head to the logs tab, we will see that we have our application logs that you can find simply highlighting the various kind of use cases and the different kind of services. And I will check out the ship order, and I will simply inspect it to see the details. And you can definitely see right here that we have a trace ID that is showing the unique identifier for this request, and that's the context propagation part we already discussed. So because of OpenTelemetry, our logs and traces are fully correlated. And if I'll just simply go ahead and click on this, it instantly takes us back to the trace panel. So loading the waterfall model, and for the specific transaction, everything is detailed displayed in a kind of a trace. And that is how OpenTelemetry connects everything end to end, giving you a full unified picture of your application.
All right, that's a wrap for video one. The goal was to give you the right mental model for OpenTelemetry. So when you're reading the docs, instrumenting your own service, or just trying to make the sense of what each piece does, you actually can understand now why it exists and how it all connects. We covered the three problems it solves, walked through the architecture from the application all the way to the collector, and then saw it working end to end in a real multi-language setup on SigNoz. So in the next video, we will go further deep down into the traces and spans and even take a look of how the context propagation works under the hood. So if you want, you can even debug some real issues under SigNoz or any other kind of APM tool. So if this helped, you can definitely go ahead and check out our other set of videos, and all the docs and links that I opened are in the description. And I will see you in the next one.